Remember, a couple months ago, the developers spoke on a test that they done for the Quest update. Well, we have some more progress on the Quest update itself from the last month, and today we are going over all of that. So comment down below if you are excited about the Quest DLC, the Quest Overhaul, the update that will change the game for good. But otherwise, let's get right into it. Just for some context here, these are all from conversations from Matt from October. So this last month pretty much. Starting from the 2nd of October and going all the way to the 14th of October. In fact, probably a little bit after that as well. But there are definitely some juicy things here. Additionally, I think it's important to get you guys up to speed on a few things. What is the Quest system overhaul and what was the test that happened? Firstly, the Quest system overhaul is ultimately aiming to be the complete rework and rebuild of the game's quest system from the ground up, including a bunch of new quests, like the previously shown blue moss or knockdownable trees or even tree scratching quests, aiming for more interaction within the game and exploration within the game as well. The big thing is that the developers want to do away with the current quest system, which we will refer to as Quest V1 or V1 quests, because that's what the developers refer to it as well in these comments. So that's what they are aiming to be changed. It brings a lot of content and will be over a bunch of updates rather than in one big update. Think of it as how we will have the foliage system updates, because that's not going to be in one big update either. It's across multiple different updates as well. The last test that occurred, that was around the 9th of September. Now I say around, that's because it's based off a comment that Matt made on that day. It could have happened a month before and that could have been the first time he's mentioning about it. Ultimately, it was a very simple comment. He said that the developers had conducted an internal early test of the Quest update and found it wasn't at the quality level they wanted just yet. But he did say a lot of work had been done so far for this system. So that's where we were at. Now let's talk about everything that's been going on since then and all of the developer comments that have occurred from this month. Firstly, let's go all the way back to the 2nd and start the collection of progress reports from Matt back then. Now this is a lot of sporadic comments that he has made. Now, the first one is an addition to that. It wasn't really a progress report on the 2nd. It was a very simple statement from Matt. And I think a lot of you can resonate with this one as well, because he said that he thinks the game is a bit boring waiting for the Quest update. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm sure all of you people who were trapped in the loop of collecting every acorn possible will agree with him. That being said, Matt equally said on the 5th, 3 days later, that he was excited mostly for the quest system, matchmaking fixes, metric system, which the metric system ties in with the quest system, game modes, TLCs, and the remaining dinosaurs to come to the game, which I'd say pretty much get the game as close as possible to that final finished stage, or the complete goal. But it's important to note that after that, on the very same day, Matt said even more stuff, and this was only the Kickstarter of that fire. Firstly, it was reiterated that the quest system version 1 will be completely removed at some point in the future after V2 quests ship. Now, this is important to note because it mentions two things. V1 quests will not be removed immediately when V2 quests come to the game. However, it is planned that all V1 quests will be removed from the game at some point. It's very likely that there will be some form of transition period between V1 and V2 quests until the V2 quests are established to a point where V1 quests can be removed from the game and won't affect the gameplay loop. Equally, this also plays a slight part in player movement too. Or well, kind of, because Matt talked a lot about player movement on this day and distribution of players on the map, and the quest system was mentioned during this too. Now, referring to the quest system, he said when the developers were testing 200 player servers, they found that players were spread very nicely. It was even admitted by Matt after that with quest changes, matchmaking updates, and systems to distribute food and resources across the map, there shouldn't be any problems with player distribution at all. Equally, going on to say that they don't think working on distribution is the most important thing. It's a non-issue right now, saying it's pretty pointless to work on the map right now and to make more changes when they have the quest system to finish. Their aim is fully on the quest system by the looks of things, and that was the most important important thing from that statement, adding that they will do more map updates if needed to, but that would be once the quest system is out. Now, these were very important to establish, especially with 200 player servers, because that test was pivotal for the developers to put resources back into the development of the quest system overhauls for the game. And Matt goes on to say a bunch of things below, because it's something we need to talk about very quickly. The developers have done several tests for 200 player servers, trying to simulate where everyone goes, what happens to the server stability, and ultimately what the game is like with these servers, and of course, if there's any changes they need to do to the map in order to facilitate distribution of players. And Matt laid out a bunch of comments, 8 key points that are going to be mentioned right now. Firstly, player distribution wasn't a problem after the changes on our 200 player test server. Players successfully moved to another point of interest, and they solved an issue with things being too close to home caves or waystones. They also resolved some performance issues with players in that area. They noticed that after we did the map changes, several points of interest would have groups of players at once instead of it being forever stuck at a single location, which is still true to this day. Though people do like Grand Plains, you can see this with the large group indicator being active on several point of interests at once, proving that this method will be successful going forward with future mechanics and systems that they are adding, and they know other areas of the map will need work too, but with the AI, matchmaking changes, quest systems, and some resource management systems to change food spawning across the map, and some changes to critters, player density won't be a problem at all. Player density over 20 is the main problem that they are concerned with, because the game isn't designed to have that many people in one area for performance reasons. Now, this all can be bundled into 3 things. Firstly, player density, with the main indication that 20 players in one area was their concern, but through thorough tests that they have conducted, it seems that players distribute themselves quite well, and the problem wasn't as big when they done the tests. Then there was performance, where high density areas were a concern for performance issues, but the developers had resolved some issues with performance for players in dense areas. And finally, mechanics. Future mechanics like AI, matchmaking updates, quest system overhauls, resource management systems to change food spawning, critter updates and more will make it so player density isn't a problem. But what was the actual outcome of this? Why does it help the quests? Well, the outcome was this. Once the test was successful, the developers have had map designers working on new quest systems and put map changes on pause. So at the moment, major map changes are on pause in favour of the quest system, which is more than ideal. This refers back to the quests from last week's small developer Q&A, where Matt said he doesn't like having developers spread too thinly over multiple tasks, as it can lead to bottlenecks in development. So now, having the map designers working on the quest system, it means they will have the full focus on that system, which is a very good thing. He did go on to say this: we could keep making changes, but the quest system is a better use of time and resources right now and will have a bigger impact. Now, obviously, this poses some questions. The first one: why was there no quest updates in the last patch? The Ranthorhynchus update, why was there nothing? Why was there no quest updates? What's happened there? Well, some of the questions that the developers faced were in relation to this, and he basically said it wasn't ready to ship at that point. And that means it wasn't ready to ship when that update was ready, and that's why it wasn't in the update. Very simple answer. There's probably still a bit of work to be done. But the next question was, what's going on with the quest system right now? And currently, the developers outlined that the quest system has a lot of effort going into Quest V2 right now. This means the developers are not working on stuff they were previously working on. I mentioned in Friday's video, and I'll mention it again, the biggest example of this is the game modes. They're currently going or dropping further and further down the list, as they aren't being worked on right now, specifically in favour for the quest system updates. And this is something that Matt said in the Discord. Now, of course, that does not mean that the game modes are cancelled. They're not cancelled, they're just on hold, which is probably a good thing, because, you know, developers spread over multiple development tasks often leads to slower development. So finally, what does this mean? The quest system updates are currently the main focus for the developers, although it's not the only thing that they are working on right now, and that is incredibly important to remember, because I see a lot of comments everywhere, especially after my foliage system update, where people are saying that the developers are only focusing on the foliage system, which is not the case at all. Although I did feel like people didn't actually get to the back end of that video where I said that there was only a handful of people who were working on the foliage system. That being said, Matt did say the matchmaking system is still being worked on. So we know that's still being worked on as well. And we also know that TLCs are being worked on. People will have their own delegated projects. For example, as I mentioned TLCs, Jiggy's still making a bunch of them. But the other things worked on will likely be, as I have mentioned, the foliage system too, because that is quite pivotal to the world updates in the game, and it also plays a part in some things. And also, if you want to break down the quest system in multiple things like world interactivity, flexibility, even the metrics and achievement system, and all the design going into all the rewards, or maybe even AI quest givers as well, there is a lot of things for this quest system that is being worked on. Now, it's also important to note, this is not one update. It'll be many updates spread until the developers think it's necessary to then remove V1 quests. That's why they said they won't remove them immediately, because it's not going to come immediately in its full finished state. It's going to be put into the game and then worked on and added to over time. Kind of like their plans with the nesting system as well, because that's something that they want to improve upon as well. Anyways guys, that is everything in regards to the progress update to the quest system. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you excited for the quest system rework? I know it's not like substantial, but it's something that the developers were talking about, and I feel like for those who aren't in the Discord or people who would have missed it like I did until today, I only found out because I was researching for developer comments about the quest system to update my overview video on that update. And so then I found this and I was like, you know what? Probably better to update people about this. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to know what you think. But other than that, I'll see you in the next one. If you want to check out another video, check out this one as to why Metriacanthosaurus shouldn't be in Path of Titans, and almost wasn't in Path of Titans. Anyways, I'll see you later. Have a great day. Peace.